Hello, hello, and welcome to Rory's Brainworks, where we get creative and see if it works. Today, we'll be working on a rib cage harness. I'm sure you could tell. The spirit costume stores are opening, populating. The pumpkin spice is flowing. Thus, I thought it was appropriate to do something a little bit spooky, and we will continue that theme, well, for the rest of our lives, or maybe just until winter hits. Yes, it's like I planned this. Speaking of planning things and keeping it at the forefront of your mind, we must first talk about safe, sane, and consensual safety. Be sure to have some safety shears with you at all times. You can always get a new rope, can't get a new life. And consensual, me, Marie, and Crochet Rory are all consenting adults. Communication is key. Now, before we take a deep dive into these spooky, scary skeletons, we must first thank my sponsors, Knothead Nylon.
Knothead Nylon is the destination for all your premium nylon rope bondage needs. Easy to clean, water resistant, up to 1,100 pounds of weight load, and in a wide array of beautiful, vibrant colors, Knothead Nylon will slake your rope desires. At checkout, put in discount code RORY10 for 10% off.
So when we think rib cage, we have to think about the anatomy of it first. What kind of designs can we implement in order to make sure it's kind of distinctive in the anatomy of our own rib cage? So let's bring up a picture. Wajah! Now obviously one of the most important factors of it are the ribs of the rib cage, but also the sternum. If we can have the ribs come in attached to a sternum-like device, we can then have them go out as ribs. It's actually a relatively simple design, so I will be showing you a way to do it and then a few variants that you can try and do on your own as homework rope. It looks nice, it's fun, let's get to it. The first thing we should be doing is palpitating the sternum to figure out, how far and how big it is. It's something you can easily do on yourself. You can easily feel it. As you follow the clavicles down, you reach this area right here, this kind of ditch. It's known as the jugular notch. Then you got this prelate right here called the manubrium, and that goes into the full body of the sternum, ending with the xiphoid process, which kind of angles down towards the diaphragm. So we need something about yay big as this attachment site for the ribs. Let's go about doing that. So I have the bite of my rope, the middle of my rope, and I'm going to be placing that around the base of the neck there, and squeezing to find out where the jugular notch is, about right there. And at that point, I'm going to do a simple overhand knot. The overhand knot is one of the easiest and simplest of knots you can find and do. You can watch the vid right there, and it'll show you a few times. And what I'm going to do is come down to just above where the xiphoid process is of the sternum and create another overhand knot. Now the xiphoid process, the furthest down on the sternum, is actually a sensitive part of the bone that's connected, but only just barely connected to the sternum. It's not something you want to put a lot of pressure onto. It can break, but it takes a lot of pressure to do that and can get uncomfortable. So we never want to push pressure down into and onto it. So we have our faux sternum here. Now let's create some ribs. Those of you who are familiar with the diamond harness or the diamond dress or hishikarada are going to know a little bit about what's going on here. All we have to do now is separate this and go around the back. Now, as we come around the back, we're going to cross over and make some tightness right there. Not too tight. Marie, how does that feel? Yes, and it should feel a little bit loose. You know why? Because ribs have a curve to them. They dangle. And you'll realize what we're going to be doing here will enhance that in order to give that look, that appeal. So once we've crossed over and done a little bit of a twist, we'll go back around towards the front. And as we come around to the front, you will notice we do have a little bit of looseness here. That will remain. Because what we're going to do is we're going to go inside this little area and go out back the other way. So we're going to go inside of it, pull through, and go back the other way, much like you would with a hishikarada. We'll do the same on this side. We're going to enter in and come through. And we want to slightly adjust so we have some of this looseness here. We want it to simulate the slight curve of ribs. So as these go back, they're going to go into the back, and they're going to do the same thing we just did. They're going to twist, and they're going to come back to the front. And we're going to repeat the process we just did. We're going to go inside and through. We're going to go inside and through. After every time, make sure that you're not pulling too hard. We don't want it to seem like the sternum is too widely shaped. And at the same time, we want to keep a little bit of looseness for these. Be sure to adjust with each one, make sure they're nice and loose, and then continue that process. We're going to go back around, do the twist, and come back around towards the front. Back around, do the twist, back to the front. We're going to go in and through, we go in and through. We will adjust, making sure that these stay close to each other and remain loose. So we can probably get another one in the back, around the back, and twist. I somewhat ran out, so I'm going to nix that last one there. So instead of coming up here and doing another one of these, I'm going to have to tie it off in the back. Easy enough. And for the last time, we're going to come through. Tighten that down a little bit. If you want, you can even create a bow. You got a little bit of dangle going on, but that is quite all right. Even if you wanted to be a little extra, you can weave through these on your way down and then put the bow down here. How do we do that? Well, let's look at our first line right here. These ones right here. This one is a bit raised and this one is depressed. What do we do to our friends on our high horses? Well, we ground them. So this one is going to go over it and then underneath that, because what goes over must go under, so saith the Rory. And what do we do to our depressed friends? Well, we uplift them. So we're going to go beneath that, lift it up, and thus, if it went under, it will go over. Continue that process of the weave. And we can cross it over on the bottom there, and then create a bow. Bah! But what's most important is the front. Once we have it down in the back, we're going to then adjust with all the looseness that we had gathered from the process. We're just going to adjust it, keeping in line with the slight curve that the ribs have. Wow. These top ones can be a little bit higher, kind of create more of a rainbow curve there, because that's kind of what ribs do. Now that I think about it, this kind of looks like a good base for creating a rope bra as well. Imagine that. But that is just one variant of one of these rib cage harnesses. You want to see another? Of course you do. So here we are. A very familiar start. We have our pseudo-sternum right here. But you notice, instead of just the two here, we have one in the middle now. We got about an inch and a half space between those two overhand knots. And we're going to start it basically the same way. We're going to go around towards the back and do the twist. Easy peasy. We'll keep it loose, pull this down a little bit, keep some looseness. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go inside this one, underneath, and come out this one. So when we come up this way, we're going to go inside this one, and we're going to come out this one. And do the same thing on the other side. We're going to go inside this one. It's going to go underneath this overhand knot, and it's going to exit out this side. Now we do have some degrees of separation as I brought those around to the back. Inherently that's going to happen with this overhand knot in the way, with all the distance between here and the exit. So when you go around and twist in the back, when you come back around, you're going to follow back up this way. You're going to go inside, kind of push this down, and you're going to exit above this one. So you're going to come around, go inside, and once inside, you're basically going to be going above this one. This one will be pushed down a little bit as you go into this one. And when you exit, you will exit out the other side above this one. So as I come back around, I'll show you. We're going to enter this side, and then exit this side. And as we draw that rope up, you will see inherently that it's going to go above this one right here. It's going to push that down where you can keep it down in the right frame. And when it exits out this way, it's going to be above this one right here. Do the same for the other side with it. It's going to enter here. And it's going to exit through here. As you can see, it went above the one that originally went through and above the exit of the one that originally went through. So as you can see, when we originally started doing this, there was a much larger gap between this one and that one. Well, as we come around again, it'll fill in this space and fill out that space. It's an interesting and ladder step way of filling in the gaps. So let's go around once more. I'll show you what that looks like. And this is the design we end up with, that variant of the ribcage harness, which to me is actually one of my more favorite ones. I like the way this works out. Come in and then out, and it adds a nice design element to it. Something about it is striking. And enjoying our time and having fun is exactly why we're here. Now, I will give you another variant as homework. Let's see that. Well, hey, and here is the last variant of the ribcage harness. As you can see, it's utilizing and piggybacking off the idea of the previous ones, the second variant. Well, so many variants, the TVA is going to come in here and prune them. Haha, that is a sweet Loki reference for all you nerds out there. Marie, which one do you like the best? Really, this one? Why? Fair enough, that is very true. This one you can be a little bit more liberal with your tightness around it. It doesn't have to fall down and loop quite as much. These areas that come in and out of here that spread out the diamond parts of the Hishikarada-esque design adds a bit of tightness to it. It pushes it against the chest a little bit. Now mind you, it's hard to kind of see a rib cage sometimes when you think about all three of them. However, if you're wearing, like, let's say a black shirt with a white rope that's kind of creating these designs and have face makeup that goes along with it, like a skull and the rest of the anatomy, you see it then. You're like, oh shit, yeah, that is a rib cage. Some fun little ideas for you little naughty birds out there. If you go to a schmexy party, you can do something like that. Well, hey! I hope you had as much fun learning from those tutorials as we did at teaching them to you. Well, Marie got a taste for having actual body parts, so she's trying to call the black market for more. No, she's not going to succeed. She doesn't even know how to order pizza. We should probably stop that. Anywho, I would be remiss if I did not bring up my other lovely sponsors for today, the wonderful people over at Patreon. That's patreon.com/RoarsBrainworks, just like this YouTube channel. They are my rope vanguard, my colonizers of dreams. And without them, these ropey endeavors would be way harder to accomplish. Thank you for spending your time with me. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to this madness, and comment down below what kind of ropey things you would like us to teach you. As always, I'm Rory. This is our brain. I'm fairly certain it works. Be safe and go create some art.